let's sit there for a second.
We're doing something, Chris.
Ta-da!
The red one is white, green all black. Alright, so it'll just go this way.
I can get Rowan.
Hey, we found pictures from like a few years ago, and you look so small.
I am small.
It was no, not growing.
He's always
Because it was like this is white. Yeah, that's white.
It's my turn.
It's cute. But it was like a picture of like a
There is, it's probably since I would check the Kisman. I don't believe it.
and like you and Hunter were there, and you were like tiny,
You were a child.
like even smaller. Like,
Throw.
It's on her way. I can have her something. Grab something.
Fidget spinner. Whoa.
Is it from Mike?
That was spectacular.
Could you stop and grab some Pepto-Bismol for the question
I'm not out.
that's your R.
That's my first letter.
That's your R.
That's my first letter.
Remember?
No, wait, no, that was last time. That was
No, you did it again this time.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. Rowan, can you?
That was not my R.
I don't know where she's
Yeah,
at
that's your R.
exactly.
That's
But if she's like already in the car halfway here, it'd be pretty easy to pull into CVS real fast.
Sad, isn't it? Who'd you ask? Yes.
Yeah, I didn't try when she won 3 games against.
Yeah, I should not try.
Oh, I lost 2. That's my sweat.
That's what happened with Daniela.
The noises you make from you're like, oh, I actually got it.
Maybe you should try getting that out.
I got it.
Okay, you have one.
Things.
Oh, wait.
That was
We're playing with red and green this time, which is unusual. Because
Red is white, green is black. Are you playing?
red is new white. Alright, I'm gonna look out then if you're not gonna play.
Oh, wait. Is it this way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait.
Because she's sneaky and you got distracted.
Romy, you're so
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Oh. See, I forgot. It's been a long time.
Wait. I just got it in.
Her name's Danielle. She just scored. I haven't got a letter. I don't know if you remember how this works. It's definitely your turn. Rowan, are you okay? What happened? You were doing great like 5 seconds ago.
I don't know what happened.
Is there rain coming out?
Yeah.
Wait, Rowan, you trying to do that?
Maybe.
I'm here probably.
Dang it, Rowan!
Maybe.
I'm here probably.
Oh! Cannot believe that I got someone with that shot. That was a stupid shot. Well done.
I could switch out the soda for the ice.
Nope. Rowan, what's going on, man? You're sucking off. Still your turn.
That hurt your knuckles.
I know. I'll leave that.
A little bit. It's like acceptable losses.
It's like me punching it, but hard.
Weird.
Like other
Stop, sir. Like.
Come on, Rowan.
Lips, that's mine.
Okay, get on. We're playing Smash Bros. And this is not working.
Yeah.
Yo.
I have a question. Does this church have anything against Harry Potter?
As in, like, what do you mean against?
Like witchcraft, thinking.
Real witchcraft? Yes. Fiction? No.
Alright, so Harry Potter's fine.
Harry Potter's fine. Are you worshiping Harry Potter?
No.
Then that's good. I enjoy
I
Harry
think
Potter.
Aiden broke this controller.
No, he was
No,
the other one. He threw the orange one.
Well, the orange one's garbage, so I don't
Oh, then that's
if he throws any of the other ones, I'll care.
he threw the orange.
Maybe not the blue. What? The blue was second to garbage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. That's dumb.
I have no choice. Thanks, Rowan. Alright, I'm on you.
I'm on you.
Abby,
Yeah, that's all
what do you want?
Get her out, Danielle.
Danielle, you're supposed to get her out. What do you want?
I can't find the one thing, the one here. I'm gonna play.
What's his name?
You're just setting her up. Time
No,
10.
do that.
Set her up. You gotta get the red ball off down table from her. No, it's
No, it's Abby Ball. Here. Okay.
You have a ball.
Abby sucked the ball. It can't be Abby's turn.
Oh, I
The
forgot
one
that it was
person
your
who know
turn.
it's not their turn. Oh, is Abby up? She's the one who went last. It could be anyone else's turn.
Wait, I'm press my
Yes, thank you. Thank you. We're on you now, man. Jared, serious.
Yeah, Jeremiah. I think Lucas is in there. I don't know if you
We
know
are
that.
both on you. Like in a literal sense and in a smart sense. Alright, and now it is Danielle's turn.
Yeah, there's Aiden,
And
Lucas,
this is it. You try so hard.
Caleb, and Maya.
You do it, Danielle. I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. Is that how you play Super
Well, that's that.
Super Button Smash. Super Button Smash Brothers. Super Button Smash Brothers.
This is like the old one with like the individual. Yeah, you can play again.
This is the fan-made community mod.
Wait, this is the.
I find out Metal Sonic and Jenna. Jenna was like the original character in Monster.
Just
where I caught up to the
Wait, where's the book at?
All of that. You guys saved my phone. No. I hit you with that.
I screamed at you. Two to one.
Abby, why'd you make like a rainbow? Two, one, and two.
Got it wrong.
He's too rich.
Oh, there goes Pete.
That move breaks. So good.
So
This is it, boys. This is the move. How are you? Oh, he died. Trophy for the win.
It has a good side, so instead of the pink stuff, it's the bad side, so you want that side down.
Oh my coins.
Quick, glad, better.
So many points.
I think that one might be a different one I accidentally grabbed that. It's like,
I know, but if they have to teach you, why don't they have bicycles? I have no idea. All
In Japanese,
Can you just flip that switch? That's not on. You want
super overpowered. It breaks through everything.
And you can move the sea urchin.
Yeah, it can move fixed objects that are designed to interrupt your attacks. Like, that's their entire purpose in life, is to interrupt your attacks.
I want to see Meta Knight.
So we each can have like 3 chips. Abby, why is it's just time to think.
Alright guys, open up your Bibles to Numbers chapter 10. And don't forget that Christmas Eve, we are having a special family service downstairs in the main sanctuary. I'll be the guy teaching. There'll be worship. It'll only be an hour long. It's going to be super duper fun. That is Christmas Eve at 6. Now keep in mind, Christmas Eve is on what day of the week? Friday. And normally, what do we do on Fridays?
Youth group.
But we're not this Friday. We're doing this instead. So don't come here expecting a youth group, but do come here. Just don't have your ride coming back at 10. That'd be bad because we're only going to 7. So yeah, 6 to 7 this Friday. Okay. Open up your Bibles to Numbers chapter 10. Last week when we were in Numbers chapter 9, we got to see the second Passover. And we got to see a few people that would normally be excluded from any holiday, any celebration, any festival, those who were unclean. Yes.
Which part of the book are we in?
Numbers chapter 10. Those people who were unclean went to Moses and kind of complained. They're like, hey, wait, isn't the Passover like what makes us part of the nation? Isn't it what makes us part of God's chosen people? If we skip this, that's not good. That could count us out of everything future. That could count us out of all the blessings. It could count us all out of all the promises. And so they said, shouldn't we celebrate this? And so he went to God, and God said, oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. They should celebrate it, but they can't when they're unclean. So they'll just celebrate a month late. And then everyone will celebrate that way. So that's pretty cool. This week, though, we actually get to see them finally leave Mount Sinai. I don't know how well you've been tracking the story because we've stretched it over months, but we were reading through Exodus, and they were escaped slaves, and they were camping out in the wilderness by Mount Sinai after they got out of Egypt. They've been there for a year. That's why God said celebrate Passover, because it was literally a year from the first time in Egypt where the Passover was not a holiday or a celebration. It was either you follow the instructions, you're obedient to God, you're faithful to Him, and He preserves you, or you die. The firstborn in your family dies. So when that happened, 1 year later, they've been camping out in the desert, and now they're finally going to leave this one spot where they've been almost that whole year, Mount Sinai. They got so many different messages from God, so many different rules from Him, directions, instructions, and now it's finally time to move out. So, chapter 10 of Numbers, the first 10 verses say this. Now the Lord said to Moses, make 2 trumpets, hammered silver, for calling the community to assemble, and for signaling the breaking of camp. When both trumpets are blown, everyone must gather before you at the entrance of the tabernacle. But if only one trumpet is blown, then only the leaders, the heads of the clans of Israel, must present themselves to you. When you sound the signal to move on, the tribes camped on the east side of the tabernacle must break camp and move forward. When you sound the signal a second time, the tribes camped on the south will follow. Then you must sound the short blast of the signal for moving on. But when you call the people to an assembly, blow the trumpets with a different signal. Only the priest, Aaron's descendants, are allowed to blow the trumpets. This is a permanent law for you, to be observed from generation to generation. When you arrive in your own land and go to war against your enemies who attack you, sound the alarm with the trumpets. Then the Lord your God will remember you and rescue you from your enemies. Blow the trumpets in times of gladness, too, sounding them at your annual festivals and at the beginning of each month, and blow the trumpets over your burnt offerings and peace offerings. The trumpets will remind your God of His covenant with you. I am the Lord your God. Okay, so first off, they're going to make these trumpets, and they have many different purposes, many different uses. But you can kind of imagine an era without cell phones, no posting on the internet, no way to spread news quickly between everyone.
Letters.
You're left with something like gossip as like the most natural form of information travel, and that's a problem. If Moses stands up in front and he tells like 2 guys, and then those 2 guys each tell 2 guys, and those 2 guys each tell 2 guys, until eventually everybody has heard, they're probably not going to all hear the same thing. Yeah.
I should have fixed your shirt.
Oh, that was a weird beginning to fixing your shirt.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was trying to do this just because.
Oh, the sleeve. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay. It was oddly hand raisy. Okay. Yeah. So you don't want to play telephone with instructions from God. It's not a good move. You definitely want to go back to the source. Yeah, Judah.
What if you were like a child back then and your parents didn't think that the spirit would actually pass over, but you didn't want to take any chances? So you told your parents you were going to sleep in the barn tonight, and then you just like killed the sheep.
Well, close to that you can actually do. If that particular instance came up, let's say, you could just go over to another family's house for that night that was actually going to do it. That was actually going to slaughter a lamb and eat lamb and put the blood on the doorposts and all the instructions.
But you're still their firstborn.
Correct, but you could move into a different house and be under its protection. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it was a rule afforded for the poor who didn't have a lamb at all. It was a rule afforded for the Egyptians. It was a rule afforded for someone who, like that, you know, they're in a family that didn't believe even though they believed. You could go put yourself under a different household for the night. And so that way it was really down to faith. It wasn't up to how much you could afford. It wasn't up to whether or not you had a sheep handy. You know, I imagine there was a run on sheep that night. It was hard to get lambs. You know, all the people who had money but no lambs, it was probably hard to buy one because suddenly every family needed a lamb on the same night. That would have been intense. And so, yeah, you could just move yourself under another house, and then it would cover you that way. Yeah.
So I forget what movie it was, but it was like an animated movie that also showed that.
Probably The Prince of Egypt. It's one
Yeah,
of the most
that's
famous
what it
ones.
I can never remember movie names.
Yeah, it's really a poetic name. It doesn't really.
Exactly.
It's not the title of the story, really.
Exactly.
Did you have something, Abby? I thought your hand was raised.
If you didn't do it, but you also didn't have any children, what would happen then?
Oh, that's
That's a good question.
that's a really good question. I guess the question then is, are you the firstborn?
Oh. Well, okay.
Because
Then.
every family has one that has any kids. Right? It doesn't have to be your kids, it could be you. So like, Caleb's the
what if you're
firstborn in
the
your
only-
generation, but your mom's the firstborn in her generation. So there's more than one firstborn in a house, generally, but it's not a guarantee. It's just a, coin toss odds kind of a thing. You could have both parents that aren't firstborn, like in my family. Emily is not firstborn in her family. I'm not firstborn in my family. Does that make sense? So it's just an odds thing. Just because most people don't have 15 kids, there is actually a good odds of 2 adults, one of them being the firstborn. So, yeah.
What if you're an only child? Then what?
Then you are the firstborn.
Oh.
First
Yeah.
and only.
Yeah, first and only. But you're still first.
You get 2 titles.
You're not last born.
But
Well,
you're
first and last.
but you're also not first. Well,
Yeah, first.
you're both.
Yep. The first Christmas was not the year after Jesus was born, right? It was when he was born, even though
Okay. Yeah. This is.
there
this
was
is
no
a
other
lot
Christmases to be first in front
There's a
of.
lot to think about.
I didn't think firstness was that complicated. Yeah.
So if you have like elderly parents and they do the thing to protect you, it doesn't protect you if you're thrown out of the house.
I think your parents doing it does protect you.
But you said if they're under another household, like if you're the firstborn and you were moved
Oh,
out.
I was talking about just in the instance that you didn't have elderly parents, but rather that you were the oldest in
But
your
I mean,
family.
if you're just an adult and you
Yeah.
moved out, you're being
Yeah.
moved out. Your parents can't do it for you. You'd have to.
No, they can do it for you. That's fine. I was
What-
talking about a
what
family
if you
with like
didn't- If you didn't believe and you didn't do it on your house.
you lose your child.
Oh. Okay.
So everyone who was doing it for their child, but it was a faith thing. It's not a
Okay.
mechanistic thing.
I actually had.
So it's not like actually blood is somehow actually saving lives in an actual, that blood is what made the difference. It's really the faith and the obedience. So likewise, the punishment was meant to punish those who were not believing in God, even though he'd just done these 9 different nationwide miracles. So again, I think there's a little bit of it like, that's up to him. So when Pharaoh gets punished, he doesn't die. Like even though the king typically is the firstborn. Isn't that interesting, like how that works? It's his son that gets punished. And I imagine that's because his father wasn't alive to fail or succeed. Like his father wasn't there to either have obedience and faith or not have it.
Mm-hmm.
So Pharaoh didn't die either way. Does that kind of make sense? Even though he likely was the firstborn?
Yeah.
So there was no one who was his parents to pass or fail a test. But he did fail the test, so he lost his child.
Right. I was just thinking about Judah's analogy.
Oh!
Like you can get out of your house in a good way, but you can't leave your house in a bad way.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially.
So it's just more grace.
That is actually, yeah,
punishment.
that's just an increase in grace. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
What if your parents aren't able to do it? Like, what if they died and they aren't able to do it to protect
Right. So again, it wasn't a punishment against you for your parents' failure. It was a punishment against your parents for your parents' failure. So if they weren't there to fail, there was no punishment.
So if your parents died, then you're completely safe.
Somehow, yeah. And that's what Hannah was getting at. It's just kind of an increasing grace.
Okay.
Rather than, well, you're screwed now. You have no options. You just automatically die. There's no grace available. Like, it goes the other way.
Okay.
Yeah, fail into grace. Yeah.
What happened to the other guy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Gabriel was here for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, he just came in,
What did happen?
didn't say anything, and then just walked away.
Yeah, what? Maybe he got here and then he's like, oh, I gotta pee. So then he left.
I don't think so. I just wanted to get some water.
I'm just guessing.
Where is he
One of my
now?
leaders want to go look for him? I have no clues. Yeah,
You forgot
Abby,
to
what's
go to
up?
his house.
What if?
I love how all these questions are about Passover and none of them about trumpets at all. No one is wondering about trumpets.
Trumpets are used at the end.
Sorry, so go ahead.
What if they didn't do it? They had no kids, and they also, none of the parents were the firstborn. They actually had, like, the older brother was the firstborn, but he was the dad of, in, like, another household that actually did rub the thing on the kid. Would he
So
still-
his parents failed, but he didn't. Should he die? Is that the question? Or there were no parents? Because we already covered there were no parents instance.
No. There are parents.
Okay.
There was no children.
Oh,
No children.
okay.
And the parents weren't the firstborn.
Right.
But, like,
then
say
who,
the
who,
mother had a firstborn brother, and he was the dad of another house.
Yeah, separate house.
He did do the thing.
Uh-huh.
Would he still die?
Because no, his parents weren't there to fail. The whole point was that you would lose your child, not that you would die.
Your child was
So it's always the person doing it or not doing it's child that was saved or lost. Does that make sense?
He said the firstborn of that generation.
Oh, I was just making reference to the fact that each generation has its own firstborn, and most households have two generations. That's all I was getting at. That it's not part of the test. It was just a note that, like, you have to think in generations. Okay, so the trumpets. The trumpets were multifaceted, and I think this is kind of an interesting thing because the idea was that it was communication for the entire nation. So this was the tweet. This was the post. This was the website. Like, this was the only way they had to rapidly tell everyone what was going on. And you could tell everyone only certain things because it's trumpet. You can't write a whole message in it somehow.
just like showed the message to the trumpet.
Well, I mean, if you had some, like, real good pitch-perfect hearers in the nations, you could theoretically encode messages in a tune. But most people can't hear a tune and go, oh, that's A and then C minor and then A again and then D and then
Yeah,
F
I don't know
sharp.
how to tell that.
Most people can't do that just by ear. So encoding messages would be difficult. So instead they did it really simple. It's just a few catchy tunes, like long blast, short blast, and like triple with a stutter. Like, it was really, really simple. It was not complicated. And you would hear one trumpet or both trumpets. There'd either be that choral effect where there's two things playing at once, or there would just be the one. And this was it, just a handful of messages. It's like, gather, some of you gather, we're leaving now. Go kill everyone.
Wait, what?
Like, these are the blasts. There's not that many. Like, we're going to war, we're breaking camp,
Don't get
I
that
need to
mixed up.
see you now. Like, there's not that many messages. Yeah, don't get them mixed up. That'd be really, really bad. Everyone's like going to gather near the tabernacle and someone comes out with all their armor on. Where are they? No. It was ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Oh, okay. I thought it was ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Sorry, I got it wrong. Yeah, exactly. What were you going to say, Samuel? Are you doing Morse?
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Morse wasn't born yet. They didn't know Morse yet. And that could have been really cool. Do the whole trumpet in Morse code.
Did they have remorse?
No, they had pre-Morse. All right, anyway, so move on past the trumpets. Back in Numbers 2, we looked at this. Anyone remember this?
Yeah.
This is the configuration they camped in the desert. They would actually camp in a big cross shape. Kind of incidentally, it's really just God arranged them in certain arms away from the tabernacle right here in the middle of the Levite camp. And those different branches of the family had different populations. But the Bible actually records their populations. So it's able to roughly create boxes based on their numbers, based on how many people are in those family branches. Yeah.
Is that why they make shoes? Do you guys?
Yes, that's totally. You guessed it. Well done. Bible scholar right here. Yeah, Abby.
What if the cloud lifted in the tabernacle thing, but they left a day later?
They were slow, you mean? I don't think they would have gotten trouble necessarily. I guess it depends on the reason. Like they're trying, but it's hard, versus, we don't want to. I think, we don't want to would probably get them in trouble. But yeah, God was pretty understanding. It's an entire camp of thousands of people. It's not easy to just like instantly start moving. So the way it's described, they did not go, we don't want to. The way it's described, they saw the cloud lift and everyone knew what was up. Because they were sleeping, and then you blew the trumpets and they woke up, and they just moved. They got up and they moved. So, and then when it was time to move, they had a certain walking order that we're going to read about, where everyone lines up in this giant nation-sized conga line. And they did not dance, as far as I know, but I'm sure they could have. I don't think it was ruled out. Yeah, Judah.
Well, first of all,
So I just really like that animation. I find it very pleasing. Isn't that fun? Anyways, what were you gonna say, Judah?
well, were there clouds back then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also,
It's a good question. I love these hard ones.
the other one, the back,
Oh, sure. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's nice.
is that a volcano that
Where?
it was on?
Oh, no, this is actually a picture of the very desert they camped in. I went and found a picture of it. And that is just a dark patch. It's not a volcano.
It looks like it's burnt.
It could be. I don't know why it's dark, but it's three-dimensionally. I don't believe it's raised at all. Could be forest fire, desert fire. Could just be like at the beach, different minerals, different weights collect
I was gonna say,
on one side of a hill,
probably like
the other
different
side of a
types
hill.
of minerals.
Just more obsidian or whatever. Anyways, yeah, so they camped in a certain order, and then they walked in a certain order, and we're going to read about that certain order. So here we go. Verse 11, in the second year after Israel's departure from Egypt, on the 20th day of the second month, the cloud lifted from the tabernacle of the covenant. So the Israelites set out from the wilderness of Sinai and traveled on from place to place until the cloud stopped in the wilderness of Paran. When the people set out for the first time, following the instructions the Lord had given through Moses, Judah's troops led the way. They marched behind their banner, and their leader was Nahshon, son of Amminadab. They were joined by the troops of the tribe of Issachar, led by Nathaniel, son of Zuar. You guys can check and see if I got this all right. Pretty sure I got it right. And the troops of the tribe of Zebulun, led by Eliab, son of Helon. Then the tabernacle was taken down, and the Gershonite and Merarite divisions of the Levites were next in the line of march, carrying the tabernacle with them. Reuben's troops were next, marching behind their banner. Their leader was Elizur, son of Shadur. They were joined by the troops of the tribe of Simeon, led by Shalumiel, son of Zurishaddai, and the troops of the tribe of Gad, led by Eliasaph, son of Deuel. The next came the Kohathite division of the Levites, carrying the sacred objects from the tabernacle. Before they arrived at the next camp, the tabernacle would already be set up at its new location. Ephraim's troops went next, marching behind their banner. Their leader was Elishama, son of Ammihud. They were joined by the troops of the tribe of Manasseh, led by Gamaliel, son of Pedahzur, and the troops of the tribe of Benjamin, led by Abidan, son of Gideoni. Dan's troops went last, marching behind their banner and serving as the rear guard for all the tribal camps. Did I get it right? Did I get Naphtali and Asher and Dan mixed up?
Yeah.
Oh, no, there we go. Then 26. They were joined by the troops of the tribe of Asher, led by Pagiel, son of Akran, and the troops of the tribe of Naphtali, led by Ahira, son of Enan. This was the order in which the Israelites marched, division by division. One day Moses said to his brother-in-law Hobab, Hobab? I think it's Hobab.
Bob.
Hobab, it's a great name, son of Reuel the Midianite, we are on our way to the place the Lord has promised us, for he said, I will give it to you. Come with us, and he will treat you well, for the Lord had promised wonderful blessings for Israel. But Hobab replied, No, I will not go. I must return to my own land and family. Please, don't leave us, Moses pleaded. You know the places in the wilderness where we should camp. Come, be our guide. If you do, we'll share with you all the blessings the Lord gives us. And then that's it. They don't talk about Hobab anymore. So, like, Moses pleads, and then Hobab's like,
I'm
just
out.
ghosts him. Refuses to answer or something. I don't know why. Suddenly Numbers just doesn't talk about Hobab. He's gone.
Just I.
I kind of envisioned it as that conversation where, like, you didn't know Hobab was leaving, and you notice Hobab leaving when he's leaving, and so you're like running after him. Wait, no, come with us. And Hobab's like 20 feet off. Like he's walking. The camel's loaded. Everyone's packed. Like we're going. No, come with us. You know the way, man. It's gonna be great. He's like, I don't want to, and he keeps begging him as Hobab just disappears over the next hill. He's gone. That's just kind of how I envision it. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's like that meme, just like, I'ma head out.
Yeah. Come on.
Just like starts to disappear. Bye. Just turns into
maybe there's like a
fog.
sandstorm and you just couldn't see Hobab anymore. He's
Yeah,
just
just
shouting
like,
at the
just
sand.
like turns into sand.
Wait, that no, I don't.
Wait.
It doesn't mention any magical Hobab powers. Okay, like he's just Hobab. Anyone remember Moses' backstory? Who Moses married? Where Moses went to get married?
Oh, nope.
So Moses went in almost this exact direction where they're at right now, from Egypt when he was younger. So Moses' life, you can basically plot it out in 40s. So he went from age 0 to 40 in Egypt. He was raised in Pharaoh's court, even though he was an Israelite. He was raised by royalty for 40 years. He kills a man. He's looking at the death penalty, and he's like, I gotta get out of here. And he leaves the country, and he runs into this very desert, all the way through it to the far side, to Midian. In Midian, he meets up with some folks. He's really nice to them. They like him. He ends up marrying one of them. He has some kids. He lives there for 40 years as a shepherd. So now he's 80. And then God calls him and says, hey, come back to Egypt. And he's like, I don't want it. Yeah. All your family, the Israelites, are there stuck as slaves. And they've been calling out to me, crying out for salvation. And I'm going to use you to go save them. And Moses is like, I still don't want it. And God's like, but you need to. This is your people. You've got to go save them. And I'll send your brother with you. He's like, okay, fine. So he leaves and he goes. And so now he's 80 and he goes back to Egypt. And then he spends that year at Sinai with all the Israelites. And so now he's 81. And then this last 39 years is leading the Israelites.
Wait, so it was 120?
By the end of the story, he's not dead yet, so it's not that far along. He's only 81. We're only 1 year into his 40 years leading the Israelites. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the clock's still ticking. Yeah. But he eventually gets to 120. Eventually.
He's old.
So 40, 40, and 40. Just a nice little symmetry there. Anyway, so he wants Hobab to go with him because he likes family. He likes that family he gained in Midian. This is not a direct relative of his. It's, he's related through his wife. But he likes that family. It was a family that wasn't part of God's chosen people. They weren't part of the Israelites, but they were actually related to the Israelites. If you go back up that 400-year tall family tree, it is just another branch over to get to the Midianites. So these are people who are loosely related to Abraham. This is not part of the nation of Israel, but they are very distant cousins, incredibly distant, by our terms. Most of us don't know who we're related to 400 years back in our family tree. Right? Most of us have not kept track of that. No. So you can marry any stranger and think you're not related to them, but maybe you are 400 years back in your family tree.
I mean, so technically...
But you wouldn't even know.
Technically, everybody...
He could be my uncle.
No, that's not how that works.
You could be my cousin.
Yeah, if you put some other modifiers on the front of that, yeah, sure.
Like, technically, if you go back far enough,
Yeah.
then everybody's related.
Yeah, far enough, yes. All right, so, all that said, they don't get Hobab. But we do get to the end of this chapter. So, verse 33 says this. They marched for 3 days after leaving the mountain of the Lord, and with the ark of the Lord's covenant moving ahead of them to show them where to stop and rest. As they moved on each day, the cloud of the Lord hovered over them. And whenever the ark set out, Moses would shout, Arise, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered. Let them flee before you. And when the ark was set down, he would say, Return, O Lord, to the countless thousands of Israel. So, this practice of blowing trumpets, marching through the desert, calling out to God, it sounds a little crazy, a little, strange, frankly. I don't think you can really put yourself in that situation adequately. It's hard to imagine living life in a desert, wandering wherever and whenever God asks you to wander. Like, that's kind of hard to picture. But I think as an analogy for life in general, I think it's pretty good. Just for life in general, the idea that you can see a certain distance, but it mostly all looks the same. But God knows exactly where he wants to take you, and he knows the best way to get there. Does that kind of make sense? Like, as an analogy, wandering through the desert and leaving when God tells you to leave and staying when God tells you to stay, that's exactly what life should be like. That's exactly what life should be like. Likewise, I like the trumpets because I think the trumpets are a great example of our communication with other people. They were supposed to blow the trumpets for the big things. They were supposed to blow the trumpets for the smaller things. They were supposed to blow the trumpets in panic and alarm. They were supposed to blow the trumpets in celebration. And so this idea that you would actually communicate with everyone and let them know, hey, this is going on. Like, that's good. I think that's good. As a nation, it's good. As a family, it's good. As a church, it's good that you would actually let people know what you're going through. Let people know what's happening to you. Let people know what you're dealing with, struggling with, experiencing. That's good. If Moses was the only guy who talked to God and knew what the plan was, technically that could be enough. If God was going to go do everything for them, then yeah, it could be enough that only Moses knew the plan. But God consistently wants to work in the lives of his people. That's pretty usual for God. And to do that, everyone actually needs to know what God's doing. You actually have to know what his plan is. And so you need to have some communication. You need to have some back and forth. You need to know what the plan is. And so he would call everyone together with the trumpets. So this little picture of simplified life, because there's really no outside influence, right? At this point, they're not fighting a war with anyone. They're not engaging in commerce with anyone. There's no competing religions. There's nothing else but food being delivered by God, a bunch of people that you are actually related to, all worshiping God, and all the outside influences are stripped away. Everything else is gone. Isn't that simple? And so this is a loose analogy of life as Christians, what we should be experiencing. So the question is, do you actually live life this way? Do you actually rest when God says rest? Go when God says go? You know, do you call out your celebrations? Do you tell people when something joyful and amazing has happened, or do you just kind of keep it to yourself? Do you call out in panic? Ah! I'm dying! Help! Or do you keep that to yourself too? Some people do. They're getting crushed and they say nothing. So I think that's a good analogy. I think it's a good way to live our lives. As a church, as a family, as a community, that we would work together, pray together, worship together, praise together. We would have this sort of connectiveness. And when people aren't taking notice, call out. Say what's happening. Make that known. And I really like the idea of you stay when God says stay and you go when God says go. That if he gives you a mission, you just pick up and walk. There's no delay. There's no, again. You just go. I think that's beautiful. Simple, but beautiful. There's a pleasingness to that idea that God's right there, and if he moves, you go after him. I think that's beautiful. That's it. I just think it's a great picture for life. That's all I have for you today. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for your word. Thank you that you are in our lives much the same way you were in the Israelites' lives all the way back then. That you're close to us. That by your Spirit we can know when you say rest. We can know when you say go. So help us, Lord, to live that way. Whether it seems like life is hustle and bustle or it seems like life is boring. The truth is you have a plan. You have something in front of us that's important to you. Help us, Lord, to treat that like it's the only thing, like it's a cloud in a clear sky desert. Help us to treat it like a pillar of fire, cannot be ignored. That we would see that thing that you have for us and just charge on after it. With passion, with energy, with excitement. And help us, Lord, when we get trapped in the wrong mindset, when we get trapped in boredom, trapped in busyness, trapped in whatever it is that distracts us from you, keeps us from looking for your plan. Help us, Lord, to realize that we're not keeping our eyes on you. We've lost sight of you entirely. Wake us up, Lord. I pray for all the different family gatherings and the Christmas celebrations and everything that's going to happen this week, Lord. They would be joyous and that they would rejuvenate the people that are celebrating you. And that you would be not just the focus and the center of our Christmas, Lord, but that you would change us through it. That the sacrifice of your Son, that coming to be one of us, would be something that changes your people every year when we stop to remember it. With our heads bowed, with our eyes closed, if there's someone here this morning that wants to say, Jesus, please forgive me, I ask every week, but I don't ever want to miss one of you guys. If you're here and you know you need to connect with him, you need to ask for that forgiveness, ask for the eternal life that he's promised. If you want to do that right now, just raise up your hand to show me, and I'll pray with you. You can talk to him, help you with the words, and you can ask him for all those things. You can start that lifelong, that eternal relationship with him. Anyone this morning, just raise up your hand. Lord, thank you for these middle schoolers. Bless them as they go. My leaders too. Bring them back again safely. We pray that in your name, Jesus. Amen. Alrighty. I love you guys. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. And if you have time and you remember, please come to our Christmas Eve service. 6 o'clock, right down in the main sanctuary on Friday. And just an FYI, I know most of you guys don't go to church on Saturdays, but church this Saturday is canceled. So there is no church on Saturday. Yeah.
So
You didn't get that in all the cards you were folding that said that?
No. Friday at 3.
You never read the card? Sorry, yes.
Friday is church.
6.
6, yeah.
Friday at 6. Christmas Eve, 6 o'clock. Oh yeah, do you want to leave that in for 5 seconds and maybe you could wait? You will. Why?
Because you can't.
So I'll probably cater a little bit.
Yeah, that's definitely stop. How about we just go with Daniel also?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to play some
Winner.
more Super Smash Bros.
Is you? Oh, nice.
That was Waluigi swim attack. ZTE, Gab Wireless,
Sorry.
I think that's Judah's phone.
Do you want something else?
Wait, who's on?
Maya Fave, Big 1 of 4,
What?
AJ Mon, Char.
Yeah. I don't know what's still on.
Okay, it's not.
There you go.
Oh, Chark texting me.
You know how you name your friends things.
Hey Judah, tell your mom I
I only
can
have
go
Kitty and
to-
Boo,
That's true.
which is actually really funny now that I think about it.
And Subaru.
And Super, yeah.
Judah, we started over with
Those are all my family though. Oh wait, I don't have friends.
Well, you wouldn't want to ever risk like offending them, losing them.
I believe in you.
Wait, did I win?
No. No, I
that would
think
be
Judah, you
going.
lost.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing Super Mario. It's true.
That's not what it's
He jinxed me.
Basically, it's
I don't get that in.
Oh, I admitted that you jinxed me.
yeah.
But he's talking.
That should not count as the.
Oh my gosh.
That is your honor.
I mean, it does say it's stick, but
it helps a little, but they were pretty good about it. That's your off day.
I know, Abby.
Okay, how about this?
You don't have to keep reminding me.
I'll start with that.
Okay.
You start all the way, Jake.
Do I have AI on our team or just us?
That's
That's
very early. Yes, I get a little short capture. Don't worry. That makes you need Mario. The other two would be. That's like the opposite.
I'm still playing, so don't.
No, you're
Oh, yeah.
Judah, she already won and we started a new game.
Butterfall. Yeah,
Hey,
so everything's over there. One of us will finish next.
New Year's Eve party's just at midnight, right?
12:30.
12:30. Okay, there you go.
Since everything's out of the dollar.
My mom's mad because the high schoolers,
Yeah, we could get
it's
it.
like a sleepover.
I don't know how to hit the junior higher.
So I think I'm like going with some like with golf courses or something. My mom doesn't want to drive down at midnight and then drive down again in the
A,
morning.
we're getting the ball.
Wait,
The ball coming. So right, okay, so
We didn't do well until like 10 hours.
so you take turns playing positions. So right now I'm in the corner on my side, and Luigi's in the corner on your side. So only you can receive the ball from the left bit. After that, it doesn't matter. But the server can only serve the guy in the corner. Don't steal this one shot, or else you'll get a foul. He has to receive the shot. Now you can immediately start hitting the ball after he hits that first time. Okay? And then the A adds height, and B steals height from the ball. So hit it out.
Yeah, and she's still on. Okay, Judah, we're starting the game. It'll go.
Okay, now he's the receiver.
No, wait, I don't want to be.
Just back and forth.
No, Judah.
You switch.
Oh,
Oh, not too bad.
Rowan, you can stay right there. Keep rolling, rolling.
yeah, Rowan, you're right there. Okay, fine, okay, fine, okay, fine.
Wait, her.
No, I'm just kidding. You're right, okay, fine. Okay.
Wait, Abby, come right here. Yeah, come right here, Abby. I'll stay right here. Okay. No, you go first. I will. Okay, fine.
So you charge it up.
Here, Rowan, you go right here.
I'm going up and right
Okay,
here.
I'll go like this. Okay, this is the order. Rowan,
So you hit A once to knock it out.
Judah, that one is. Rowan, you're next. Yeah. Okay, here we go, Judah. Yeah, well, if you Judah next. I'll move up and down.
Yeah, you can move in every direction. Sorry, I missed it, but I forgot.
Oh, no.
I forgot you can like
God.
That should be like your main shot.
So when you're playing, watch for your AI standing and try and cover that before he's not covered. Not now you're certain. Just in general, if you want to leave like your
That's like a very rare occasion where it actually works and it goes. And she hit Judah.
Ah, Judah.
like, you know, like, that's like,
You're so small.
Why did he make it in?
No.
Wait, what happened?
Well, I almost.
I was getting knocked over by Judah. I think he sort of hit it from the side.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Either way, you got a letter.
I almost killed him. No, I'm
You did near
you have like, 13
Bro, I was gonna. That's so hard.
you said A to join.
Okay, wait, what is our big house? C? C. No, wait, I don't need it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's sure. Oh, yeah, C.
Probably like
Nothing.
Yoshi.
And I'm the one after Abby.
Wait, me. You guys don't be afraid of her.
She has a special like keeps her alive.
Are you saying she's going easy on me?
Yeah. No, she has a special grip on me, and I can never do it.
No, that was your turn. Where'd you go?
Okay, who's on
She was
this?
trying to give the ball.
Who's on the eon?
I know.
You hope so? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take the eon.
Judah, that is not nice.
Oh.
Why do you do that? I fix marks.
Okay,
Yes, it does.
why do you guys go against marks?
It's just
What's wrong with marks? What dots? You got 2 seconds faster. But you gotta cover it. That's just left because of work.
Well, it'll switch every time. Right. So whenever you start, you're always gonna start in the same, or when you're receiving, you're always in the forward. You have to do that.
See? Oh, stop touching that.
Well, first you went to his billboard and you start writing down weird numbers. He probably planned that.
Okay, right.
like a 60.
Okay, which is
That moved back.
Have to reach out. You don't get over.
That's my C. You gotta like run.
I know. It's like a disadvantage all the time.
ah, we got 2 calls. Oh, nice, dude. He's special. Not that special. Actually, no.
Oh, like, but holy glory.
I'll set it up so you can get out of here.
Yeah, someone cursed me.
That stall.
A movie was gone. You went like this.
Yeah, you do have to like all of
And then
No, that's a CR.
You're
That's a
he's on your Z.
wait.
that.
Yes, we're playing cricket.
But that didn't count as our
Wait, didn't you see
It's a view.
Yeah,
It was a side player. It was a side player. Oh, were you on the side?
What?
He was like
No, no,
this.
it's not.
He was
It
like
was definitely like this.
No, it was not.
It was old.
I was like,
And
he dragged like he like
yeah, he did. You have to just hit it like
wait, listen, I did that.
yeah. And it was like that's called
Okay.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah, that's a bit of reach.
Oh, what is that called?
Even your blows are weak.
Oh yeah, that's
Clickers and left die.
just like reach half of the court.
Oh.
Ow, hit that overpowered. Yes, so reach. Half the court.
What? Nice shot.
That was really nice.
Okay, what do you have?
I do.
Okay. We both have
That's nice.
Got it!
No, you don't get to like
Yeah, Jenna, you're definitely
Not you.
You say that like every
No, I know myself.
every time.
Judah, you say that every time.
Get out.
I put my leg up. No, that was not you.
Judah.
You guys just assume
No,
things.
Judah.
Oh, I hit that. That's a reach.
Yeah, I think so.
They're yelling for reshots.
That wasn't my fault. That was Rowan's fault.
I hold.
Okay, round.
Whoa! She hit the ball. That's a foul.
Yeah, I think I'm reaching. Okay, fine.
you let go.
Judah's not in.
Green eggs and ham. That's like it.
No, you're not. Judah.
I've always been in.
Since I was born.
Oh no.
Okay, so right trigger is your reach shot.
Ram.
Left trigger is your power.
That's
What? I'm just so scared. I mean, stop.
It's not. We don't know. It's just been there for a
How
while.
do you do that?
excuse me, that was
Right there.
huh? I could that was involuntary. You guys are being
No.
Judah, why did you start yelling for no reason at all?
Overstimulated.
Don't you be stupid. Don't be stupid.
Okay, DK's here.
It's like saying stupid, you're not stupid.
That's so. Judah, you are 100%
That was a
right
cool shot.
now.
That was a 0 to 30.
Brave to just be standing there, Danielle. I do not trust you all to stay on the table.
It was 15, 32.
No.
And then,
Tennis makes no sense.
I have an arm.
That's so much reach.
They have
This shot is super strong.
dude, I can reach like half across the court.
There's such a reach.
Because much reach. Reach over.
Oh, Bowser! Don't hit the ball when you're not receiving. Now you're receiving the ball.
That's lazy.
What is that?
That was a slider shot.
Yes, duh. Okay. Down here. Yeah. Yeah. You, wait, no. You said you had an R and then you got out. You just got out. Yeah, no, I got out. What?
You wait
When you
until
were
you
sitting
bounce
in
again.
it's almost so confused.
And the court bounces the center.
Oh, wait, where's the idea? Where's the book?
That's the plan.
Oh, where's the book?
Well, the signal is out.
I don't like that. Sunshine. Ow, it's sunshine.
You gotta move on. Don't charge until you're there.
You think I'm just stupid?
You like literally just let the ball bounce.
Okay, so it's not letting me swing fast enough.
You gotta get stuck to the button at some point. And you gotta stop pressing the button when you hit the ball. So
Let me
you
press
know
the
where
button
to
faster.
stop. And then get there.
That's not so fast, just
Oh, there. Have you text Charlie's mom yet? About the movie?
Oh,
really? Text?
I did, and she said he hasn't switched.
Wait, that's
Des. I thought that was you, right? She's dead.
Yeah, he said yeah for 3:30. So I guess I can't do it.
Right. Oh, okay.
So I guess I'll have to replace it with this here boy.
I thought that was
Replace him?
Replace.
I know. What movie?
Spider-Man.
we just so good.
It's so good!
So good.
I was geeking out in your theater, like exploded screaming so many times.
Well, Maya kind of started sitting next to her, but like everybody else was quiet, and then she was just like, "Oh," or like, "Ew." Like,
Our theater was like screaming. So I actually like missed some of the lines because like the entire theater was just like, oh!
Means that it doesn't look like it's
yeah, Maya was very loud with her.
Oh no, this one is a very big deal.
This is a big deal.
This one is vindication for
Like,
generations of
If
Spider-Man.
you've seen all of the Spider-Man movies, then it's pretty good.
Like we've been watching Spider-Man since we were kids, and this is like vindication for all of
So
it.
left one
And
has
it's so
only-
good.
It's like a
So good.
change to make it
sad though. I almost
It's so sad. I did cry. Girl, you kidding me? You didn't cry?
I almost cried.
Oh, careful.
So he's.
She doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to be
He
after
wants
her.
to be before her, but she wants to be before Ken.
He's following me. They're playing Ring Around the Rosies.
You're supposed to go and then
And like
if you
spins
do
over
go,
there.
maybe we have to stay. Okay. We have to stay here.
You're next. Ow. Yeah, that's
I know.
no.
I know.
It's gonna go this way.
All around.
It's this way. So you're left.
Stack. They have every stack.
Mario.
Wait, you
Now.
Oh, you like Mexico. Alright, who wants to go on my team? Wait, who's Judah?
Me.
What's
Oh, Yoshi.
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 He says Yoshi. What was that? Hey. I'm not. I'm Mario. I got it.
A or B? A adds height to the ball, B takes height from the ball, like a slice.
Yes. Get it
Or,
right.
what is it? Sponge. Yeah, that would be. So be careful when you
Stop
the
throwing.
ball, it won't go through.
Yeah.
He's so easy to tell.
Oh, you press A to do immediately.
No, wait, you just got a letter.
No, I was supposed to go back and forth.
That, okay, can that be a redo because Rowan touched it? That's a letter for Rowan and a redo for me.
What's your character?
No, it's a letter for you because you're not allowed to touch it when it's not.
Alright.
Is that,
Okay, from now on, yeah, no touching the white ball or the black ball.
so it's just a redo, no letter.
Wait, you can't touch either ball? How do you
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not your turn, you can't touch it because Rowan
that's
just,
rules. You can't do
Rowan
that.
just touched it when it was my turn. He was trying to be helpful. Yeah, that's it. No, wait, that was Abby.
Wait, I don't remember.
It's my
It's
turn.
your turn.
No, that's your turn.
Hey, do it again.
No.
Stop being so helpful.
Oh.
Stop being so nice.
Abby has
It's yeah, it's Abby.
No, it's Abby's.
No, but it's silly. But he skipped you just got a letter.
Understand how this game goes.
Good job,
Yeah.
Trish. If you
It's
don't
still
get
your turn.
when I'm being served to, I have to hit the first shot.
Yay.
And it'll treat to you every other round will be me and you. It was like a B on a slow ball. It doesn't work. So you have to take the first shot.
hit the ball.
No, I have a C. Wow, Abby, thank you for that. It's
What do you have?
No.
I think you're right, you're on.
So no, that's C.
Banana.
Well, you should go.
Everyone, no.
Okay, now I have
Other
one.
than that, yeah, you receive.
No, because I got a one and then the second.
And then you touched it.
Yeah, I touched it once.
And then you
Well, you touched it twice, but we didn't count it. So if he has it. Oh, then that's your you. No, it's you. Rowan's like, stop.
I had to charge up.
generosity in your heart.
Wait.
Now you're out. Rowan, you gotta stop touching it.
So you started with 0.
Oh my goodness.
Still 0.
No.
Oh, that's right. Ella's died. Ella's get there. It's like
Get there.
It's really nice, like,
Oh, there you go. Everyone's in the air.
Rowan, are you out?
Well, I mean, I touched. I'm trying to help.
Yay.
Now you have you. Yeah, because
You should have pushed out. Push out to get that.
Yeah, if you hold L to do a bit of dive or
I wasn't
something.
trying to drop. It just like,
No, it's when you hit the button.
Hey, hit it.
You gotta start playing too. The rest of the time.
Hey, you got it.
Happy.
That's true.
Okay, you're out now.
Oh,
No,
you guys
just
are
last
good.
time you just got it. Because remember, I got it in and then you were like, oh, that's sad, and that was for you. Then I just did it again and
Because I had nothing.
You should
Wait, what do you have?
Wait, you had nothing?
Yeah, your thing.
Who is he serving?
Oh, you almost stole it. You almost stole the shot.
Okay, then that's your
is this a new game?
No.
Almost.
You guys need to say I'm not.
I'm gonna take Sam on the team. See if I can beat it.
Alright, this time Abby's after me. Because last time I was after Abby.
Did someone want my shoes? Just serve me.
Give you this. That? No, 3/4 of a cake.
Yes, so fair to say.
Okay, how about this? Everyone starts with U's except for me. I start with U's. Everyone that's always
Always for shy guy.
No, we don't care about
except
I like
that.
taking
Because
it.
you're
I
after
start
me.
with nothing.
No, you're
How does
after
that
me.
make any
All go
sense?
more left and more right.
I'm the worst
Except
one
for
here.
I kind of know where to stand.
No, it's just normal. And now it's everything.
You're after me.
Good job, right down the middle. That's great.
Oh, come on. You play on this when you play good.
So when there's a star on the ground, that tells you the ball is going to land there.
Wait, are you just
100%
starting?
odds.
Is yours gonna-
Did you guys
Yeah,
just
So
start?
yeah, you can go right
you know that that's the spot to go stand before you
Yeah,
start.
whoever is after me, just go.
Which was me.
Okay, I'll just be after that.
So let's just restart.
Okay, yeah. So wait, what's the order now?
It's
It'll go.
I just buzzed
Okay,
out.
here, it'll go this way.
Like there.
I'll go this way, starting with me and this way. So you're next.
Blue versus carrot.
You just don't want to be after her.
I was after me last time, so this time she's after me.
Like, give
I didn't
yourself
get one
better
last time. You
chances
guys
of
don't.
Yeah, okay. That is very true. Okay, and look at this way. So
That
you're
makes
next.
sense, like, just players that-
I thought starting against
You're receiving.
bad
You
players.
gotta take the ball first. Oh, good angle. That was tough. That was good. Okay, I'm receiving stuff. Oh, it didn't bounce. Oh, come on. That's the dumbest thing. You have to let it close up. You have to let it bounce before you.
Yes.
Okay, you're
Wait, is
receiving.
that you?
Oh.
Okay, so the other thing too, Sam, is watch where the guy at the front goes if you're the guy in the back. And try to cover the opposite.
Good job.
So like I'm on this side and I'm close.
Wait, next one.
Oh no.
Where's the vaccination?
Wait, no, you got Abby out there.
Hit it, hit it.
Abby.
And if I'm left, right.
So how do you get your tennis racket?
So we have to win one more time. Come on.
Volleys generally, like getting the ball to go back and forth. Oh! Good job. So if you know it's gonna go behind you at some point, pull down that right trigger, yeah, or left trigger. Give it a shot. And
I got
it. Okay, now you're serving.
Don't steal the ball.
You stole my ball.
Ah. No, it's the first is a corner.
Okay. Okay, Missy, go.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm sorry. Alright, so when they're serving and I'm in the corner, then I should be
I know.
Just have to be a little more aggressive.
Touch it.
Oh, you gotta get ready.
Good job, bro.
Can't just lose. That's our strategy.
The noises you make.
So sad.
Don't lose.
Oh,
Like it, Luigi.
wait, Jay.
How are you moving sideways, not walking?
Magic.
You just moonwalk back and forth. parked in the center, it went over the center line.
Okay.
On that
Gotta
side.
let her wonder.
Thought? Oh yeah. Oh, gotcha.
No, it was your letter, and I was supposed to put it here, but I accidentally dropped it in
You
one
don't come
there.
right back
Shoot
in.
it. What? No, did you shot it? You shot it.
No, it's because he went.
what was that?
For like so is that you go, but he gets.
Yeah, I was trying to hold the left trigger into it, but then it made me die for it. I've been tennis for a second. That's how
It's a good hard shot.
Why do you get points?
Get it. Didn't poke this. I want to see that before.
I'm going downstairs.
Wait, hold it.
Have a good Christmas.
Happy Christmas, John.
Sorry.
British.
That's good.
You're good though. Hey. I'm just gonna. Yeah, it's about 30 minutes.
I'm gonna go downstairs.
Bye, Daniel. Merry Christmas. Yeah, we're what are you doing?
Oh, he hammers it back.
You're so
Ah.
She's so light. Great.
Yes.
Don't do this to me. Okay.
Give me this one now.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Happy turn. You're gonna kill me. Okay.
Snickers.
Well, let me roll it.
Or you just run past it and do nothing out of it.
Yeah.
That was like what you do.
What are you doing?
On my way out there.
Hi guys. Nope.
Happy Christmas.
That's not fair. You gonna play one player Mario?
Bye.
Oh.
I do that.
Okay, I guess we won.
I have to
Go,
put it
go
up.
us.
See ya.
To serve.
Yeah. I might be back. I don't know.
It reminds you of the controls.
You think you're doing really badly?
In case, because he's just saying he's not pressing anything. So it just starts reminding you of the controls.
Like, hey, are you okay? Did you just have a stroke? This is what you should do.
A drop shot. I don't know what drop shot. Either way.
I mean, that's nice if they're letting you know so you can learn things. Okay, I'm gonna go get the girls.
R then B, defensive power shot. I mean, how many people can do that? How many people can stand on the rack with all this stuff right now? Yeah, well, we're a little bit here. How you guys got that puzzle? You can do what do you call it? You just swing back and forth across the court. In basketball training. There's
Sprints?
a big called sprints. You just like touch the line, on the line, on the line. I feel like it's more scary, like dead running or something. Yeah. Because the idea is that you do it until you quit.
Like, grow up?
Yes. That's what that's the goal.
Where else can I have any
Yes, I do.
Bro,
You don't have to, but you can't sit here.
issues?
Is that not? No?
No.
That's not that.
No. It's time to go downstairs, yes.
See you later, Samuel.
I don't know that song.
Everyone knew that song.
No, not everyone knows closing time.
It doesn't have to be a bad song. It can just be a
It's
song
actually
played.
about his wife being pregnant.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh, that's a terrible song. I don't like that song anymore.
Right. It's actually really sweet.
Is it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Because it's talking about like going into a new phase in their life. We're not doing this anymore. We're going on to a new thing.
But it says you can't stay here, which means you wanted to.
No. They're just stating a fact. Things are 100% changing and you cannot stop it.
I mean, that's true.